So it's hot as balls right now, and I thought that instead of doing our usual workout video, that we'd sit down today and read yet another one of these beautiful shock video fanfics. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, Jay, you've never done workout videos before? Well, that's what you think. So there we go. So today's story is a fairly interesting one. I've never actually heard of this one before, as a shock video and a story. Now, the last two were obviously Two Girls, One Cup, and One Man, One Jar. But this one I've never even heard of, and this one is called Two Men, One Girl, One Supper. The story of the sickest video on the internet. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't excited to know what this story includes. So let's get to it. Who am I? Reminds me of that already. That Les Mis song, Who Am I? All we need now is to yell 2, 4, 6 or 1. I'm surprised I remember those numbers. But I used to listen to that soundtrack a lot. We don't need to talk about that just yet. Should you really ask that question? I'm not anyone you want to know, and I am not your friend. My roommate can definitely agree on all of that. We want to stay the same as we always were, invisible to the rest of the world, not knowing where we came from, and not knowing what could happen next. My own life was rather rough. I was diagnosed with autism, and my life has been a mess ever since. My mother had to be killed when she was pregnant. Fucking crikey. With me, by teenage girls who were merciless towards mothers, who held a sacrifice on in the woods, in the woods. Yeah. But my father got her fetus by... What the fuck is this? But my father got her fetus by sneaking away with her corpse after the sacrifice, and paid to fertilise it, as he always wanted a son. Okay, so this is from the man's perspective, I presume. Long story short, I almost didn't make it into existence, and my autism was pretty much the result of the brain injury from my biological mother being sacrificed. My father told me later in life, when I was old enough, about the truth of my mother. Okay, so far from this story, there's a dude who's got autism, who for some reason lost his mother to some kind of cultish behaviour in the woods. Why that's a thing, I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell. I have no idea what this is about so far. And I'd be lying if I said I did. I've never heard of this, ever. I'm almost interested to hear what they've got to say and see if we can enlighten ourselves on this journey. When I was a teenager, I tried committing suicide, knowing that my life was never going to go anywhere. But I survived each and every time. That's when I learned a lesson. I was here for a reason. To teach lessons rather than give them. I thought of my past and eventually learnt that the world needs work. Good thinking. These kids think they can always have their way. They think they know everything when they don't, which is entirely true for the internet. All they are to me is ungrateful little bitches who have no respect for those who need help. I was here to tell these kids that it's not only wrong to think this way, but that they are also hurting themselves I'm still completely lost. Most people don't see what I really do with my life. Me and my roommate don't know much about the about the outside world. All that's ever happened to us is that we were sheltered all our lives. We do nothing but stare at the sky outside of our luxurious suburban home. In fact, I've never seen a human being in over 10 years. Sounds sad, don't it? Well, that's not the half of it. Nah, that sounds like me, that. Yeah, rather sitting, playing RuneScape. Been doing that for about 14 years now. So far, I've got nothing against that, really. Well, it's picking up a bit. I set up our basement for the one thing I always wanted to do, which is teach them all a lesson. These little shits are not only what we consider spoiled, but also a waste of life, considering how they have no ability to learn. This was time. Fuck's sake. This was time. My father's skills to come in handy. But not in the way you think, because that sentence doesn't even make sense. My roommate came here with no intention of doing this, but I had to do the worst possible things to him, just so I could get him to do it with me. At this point, this is good because you've got a little bit of a climax building up. So you've really got something for us readers who have no idea what this shock video could be, or the shock thing. I mean, at the moment it sounds like a creepypasta, and it would work really well on a creepypasta website. So at the moment you're building up some kind of, you're giving us something. It's not bad. The spelling's a bit shit, granted, and the grammar's terrible, but we're getting something. The only disappointment I'd have with this right now is if they were to turn around and say, yeah, we just shit on each other's face and pissed in each other's mouths and put our whole heads up each other's bum holes. But it doesn't seem like the story's gonna go that way. It's looking pretty well built up, if I must say so myself. I'm quite the artist when it comes to filming what I do here in the land of rednecks. So this is in Texas, possibly, or somewhere down south in America. This is not the easy part, but I guess it's important if you want to get your point across. You see, I have no friends or enemies other than my roommate and my wife. Okay, he's got a wife, okay? You're telling me that he stays in his room and has stayed in his room for 10 years and he's got a wife? No, if that's the case, why don't I have a wife, okay? I've been doing that shit for 14 years, man. Come on now. What we do is like a daily grind, as people pay to view this for themselves on my website. So he's a Snuff creator, I suppose you can say. The humiliation, the payback, and the merciless abuse of these kids is what these sick bastards love to see, because karma is a bitch. Me and my roommate are proud of what we do. I even still have lots of bite marks on my arms from the struggling children who I have disciplined in my videos. So this guy does videos relating to child snuff. Oh boy, this might be the most disturbing one yet. I mean, Jesus. A lot of regular homes in Texas. Yes, got it, Texas. Fuck yeah, why am I celebrating? Don't look this great and polished. That's what I thought most of the people I have would like this to some degree, as they always wanted the cleanest. As they always want the cleanest and hate ghetto homes. So using all of my money I earned from making my media at my trailer park, I decided, sorry, I've just seen a sentence which I don't want to read out in the next one. I decided to buy this luxurious suburban home and we all decided to dress the part more. I went full... Stop. Come on now. I can't do it. I went full on daddy-like to deceive my victims. My roommate decided to grow a goatee, and my wife shaved her head. Wow, that sentence really fucked me up. That daddy sentence really fucked me up. I can't read properly now. She shaved her head to make herself look more freak-showish. My wife sometimes helps out, and she even made some of the weapons I use on my victims. The grandma paddle is my personal favourite, and is the most commonly used weapon for me. Sometimes what we do is we like to play with them, pretending like they're dolls. Sometimes I wish I could turn them into dolls, so they won't feel any more pain. But taking their lives would be a little too much. Okay, this story is pretty gruesome so far. Pretty gruesome. That's my personal story. But anyways, that's my job in this world. To teach these spoiled kids today the gift of life. All they know is being popular, being the best, having the latest and greatest phone or computer. Long story short, they don't understand what it means to be a human at all. And all they want is to take over the world, using their looks, and valuing themselves and their own kind than those who are in need, never appreciating new life or what really matters. I'm also showing them what my pain is like. Being so alone, being hurt for so many years, always living my life in desperation, and enjoying my internal sadism to these life forms that have no worth to me than trying to save their arses. Literally, if you know what I mean. While I have made many videos of the abuse taking place, this particular production we conducted was the best of our work, as we did put a lot of effort into it. I've just realised what this is. Is this... No, I'm not going to say it. I've got something in my head that I might know what this is about. But yeah, let's carry on. The video project was with a middle schooler named Alice. All she did was sit on the couch, eat chips, and did not go to school. Or it appeared this way when we spied on her. So we captured her, and along with some brainwashing and some secret hiding along the way when we got her, we convinced her that her family was going to be killed if she did not star in our newest video. She would scream and cry for us to let her out when we brought her to our basement. We tried to ignore her as much as we could and waited for the perfect moment to start filming. Our camera was brand new. We knew this was going to be a quality production. The website we hosted was full of people ready to watch this video. We set the scene, got everyone together, then hit the record button. I used the subject of vegetables as part of the scene, out of improvising, to use it as the lesson we would teach her, to show to the sick fucks that she was gluttonous and lazy. And then I decided to get more physical because I just felt like it, which I grabbed her arm and brought her into a little den just near the kitchen, where I would tell her that she was about to be beaten alive with a paddle I found at a local lingerie shop. Nice. Okay. Then I took off her dress and slapped her naked bottom. And then I kept on doing it to her until I felt like it was good to start verbally insulting her. She started to bleed. Really? Well, this is different, isn't it? I never even seen the inside of someone's ass, but it felt so good that I taught the kid how to have manners and be an adult, or that there would be consequences, all on film. See, this story really started off as something funny, and now I'm just a little bit tense reading it, which is good for a story, but holy shit, the subject matter, it's bad. I kept on slapping her while giving lessons to the viewers that you shouldn't have to resist the urge to slap her hard. That's when I saw I had Walmart bleach next to me. I poured it all over her bruised rear, and she screamed and cried even louder as I continued to spank her. I never felt this kind of joy seeing the most stupidest person ever learn their lesson. After I was done with her, I scolded her one last time before telling my roommate to cut the footage. Then I brought her back to the basement, all dark, cold, and miserable, just like how she was on the inside. After I went back upstairs, I uploaded it for the world to see, along with all my other videos. As I was taking a break from filming, I heard her screaming and crying. I kept telling her to be quiet, and she wouldn't stop. Eventually, she went to sleep, and all was peace and quiet. The next morning, me and my roommate both checked up on her to see what she did the whole night. She was all bruised. Her eyes were bloodshot, since she didn't sleep all night, and then she threw up because of all the stress she's been through when I filmed her pain. We looked at her, and her fingernails were all bloody, and there was little bite marks all over her chicken cage, which I presume is what they kept her in. It never said. Oh well. She then asked loudly, "Why are you doing this to me? What do you want from me?" I responded that we needed to teach her a lesson because she would not be responsible. It's my rules around here. She then stopped struggling, and when she heard us say that, she then said, "You don't understand." While confused at first, she then told her own story that she was abused by a mother who was an alcoholic and would assault her every night when she was younger. Her mother then died in a car crash when she was 7. She claimed she always wanted a true parental figure in her life and never got it. She lived with a foster family that was very neglectful in nature, never went to school, and that she's always been a mess ever since. Now, normally we would rid the kids by sending them back onto the streets and erase their memories so they wouldn't rat out their experience to the police. But when we saw her pain in her voice as she told her story, I realised who the real monster was. Then it hit me. Not all human beings are terrible, but not all are the same. Shit, this story's even got plot twists. This is actually a pretty damn good story. Despite the first starting grammar and spelling errors, it's actually pretty damn good. I'm liking the story so far. I went onto my computer to delete the video very quickly. I was hoping nobody saw it. I hope nobody will ever find out that I did this to this innocent soul, like all the other children I've tortured. And then I got the news through a local newspaper that my videos have already been seen by millions over the world, and the outcry it brought. I even had a warrant for my arrest. Now, what I did was use An expensive CG AI that replaced my ugly ass face, and the faces of victims also. I did this so we both look more attractive, and so that nobody could ever track me. Plus you wouldn't want to see our faces anyway. I realised that I fucked up badly. What did I become? Why did I do all this? I wanted to put an end to all of this. So I tried ODing on a bunch of pills, knowing it would be the only way out. But right when I was about to die, Alice came in and called 911 to bring me to the hospital. Surprisingly caring for me this time. Holy fuck, dude. Wow, this video got the feels. Like shit, dude. Soon I woke up in the hospital bed. Alice stood there. She told me I was going to be okay, and that there was nothing to be afraid of. I asked her why she cared for me, knowing all the horrors I did to her and many other kids. She then held my hand and told me, "I want you to live." I've never heard anyone say that to me in my life. As terrible as my life already is, and has been, this was one hell of a surprise. Once I got out, I made a dead serious deal with her that she would never tell her foster parents about the experience. But when I told her this, she was scared by the thought of her going back to them, Christ. Even though we all told her she needs to go back to her family. With no other choice, we let her stay with us for a while, until all the stuff we did was hidden. And then when we tried calling the police saying we found her, and they claimed they couldn't help me, I asked her where her adopted parents lived, and she did not say a word on where they lived. Pretty soon I looked on the news and saw that a couple got into a car crash, and when she watched it, she saw that they were indeed her foster family that got killed in it. Alice was shocked, but based on the looks of her, it was almost as if she didn't seem to care that much about it. Then another news story came on, saying that a man who they thought was connected to the crimes was arrested. Due to the AI on my computer being very good for the time, and not many people having access to it, I actually got an innocent man arrested. As I stood there now, not really knowing what to do with this teenage girl now, or all of the terrible mistakes I just made. Now what was I going to do? First I became a practical killer. I hurt this misunderstood girl, and now a perfectly nice man is in prison now. I was extremely hesitant that I had to raise this child who I abused, considering how awful I am. I had a mental breakdown because of my actions. But when I was done, I just laid there in the kitchen, crying my eyes out, and hoping I would have died in my suicide attempt. I just wish this over already, and not have to drag this around for the rest of my life. Then Alice walked up to me as I laid there on the ground, screaming and crying. She held my hand and told me that I was going to be okay, and that all she cares about is a new parent that cares about her. She said she experienced even worse abuse than what I did to her. Then she apologised for being mean to me and said, "Just let it go. I want to let go." And then I hesitantly agreed to let her live with me. It took me a while to get used to it, but I feel like I somewhat changed since my experience. I still feel extremely regretful about all the stuff I did, to the children, but I've been slowly but surely been trying to learn to let go of it. Alice lives with us and has a better life than she used to before. I guess I just really needed this in order to find out what was lost all along. Even though I always still apologise to her, every day, for what I did. She always tells me the same thing, that she loves me, no matter what I do. But I've never felt that way. I take her to school. I take her out almost every day and night. I do everything for her and support her in everything she does and wishes. Now I may just be an ordinary man, but you do not want to know me. Even if I changed, even if my past had been somewhat erased, I will never be sane on the inside. You do not want to know me. I am not your friend. Well, that was actually pretty damn good. There was a bit of story. Pretty gruesome story actually to begin with. I mean, we're used to a bit of that. Now the only thing I don't know is the last two were obviously based, or the last two stories were obviously based around shock videos. This isn't based on a shock video. Obviously this is based on abuse. It's based on an abuser and a murderer. Or he didn't murder actually, did he? No, he didn't murder. Never mind. It's based on an abuser who obviously kidnaps kids and uses them for his horrible online, it's not really a snuff video, shall we say. I feel like a lot of this story was about an abuser who basically was like, oh, woe is me, I do this stuff because this, I do this stuff because that, which obviously that's what abusers do. They blame it on other people, they don't blame it on themselves. Like, have you ever watched a paedophile sting? Every time you sting a paedophile, every sting I've seen, they always say, why did you do this? Paedophile turns around, says, oh, it's my, I don't know, Asperger's, mental health, depression. And this is exactly what this same abuser was basically on about towards the end of the story. He was blaming his problems of abusing kids because he thought it was right, because he was suffering from some kind of fucking, I need to learn, teach them a lesson, I'm doing right. And in the end, he basically blamed his depression and sadness on his regrets. So I guess they've really captured in this story, and it was a good story. I did quite enjoy reading this. It was very, very well done. A few errors here and there, but there's not much I can say about that, because we've definitely seen worse. And as you can probably see, it was slightly longer than the other stories that we've read so far. And there was also a point in this story where it just sounded quite funny, and then all of a sudden it just got really dark, and then towards the end, just pretty damn emotional. And it's a story that tries to sort of make you sympathise with the abuser, which in a way is the type of thing that abusers do. They try to manipulate you into feeling bad for them. Oh, I've overdosed on pills, all that kind of stuff that abusers will say and do because they know they've made mistakes and they want to blame something for it. And now I won't provide any examples of this that I've heard of before. I won't be going into any kind of Amber Heard kind of shit or anything like that, because this, at the end of the day, is just a story. Now, whether it's based on a true story or not, this story is entirely fiction. And to be quite honest, it did a damn good job. But it's nice to read a story that actually makes a bit of sense with a bit of a story. Because obviously this is on the Spin Pasta wiki. It's a wiki that anybody can contribute to. So you don't have to write a story that's about 20 paragraphs long like this one was. And, you know, spell check it and all that kind of stuff, which it's clearly been, it's got punctuation and stuff like that. It's pretty well written out, for the most part, of course. So I'm going to leave you with that. Now we've got one more story, which I'm not going to spoil what we're doing next. There's one more story to read, which I was sent, and this is one that I'm actually looking forward to reading. Again, I've not read any of it. I've heard of it, but it's a shock video that I don't actually believe to be true. So stay tuned for that one. That'll be coming up in the next week or so. And that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. And if you want, like, subscribe, maybe click that little bell next to the subscription button. It's been a while since I've said that. Stay safe, guys. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.